Say your own name out loud, just once at whatever volume feels normal. Something physical just happened. Air left your body in a pressure wave, oscillating around 100 times a second if your voice sits low, a bit over 200 if it sits high. That wave pushed on the walls, on the window, on the surface of your drink, on the small bones inside your ear. You've done that your whole life, and almost nobody has ever seen the shape of it. So let's make a voice visible and then talk about what that has to do with you. What you're about to see was computed, not filmed. The voice is recorded audio. The plate and the moving sand are a simulation. We didn't film a plate on a table. We took the equation physicists use for a vibrating square plate with free edges and fed it the actual recorded sound of my voice reading these words. Every few milliseconds, the recording is analyzed for the frequencies it genuinely contains. And those frequencies decide which shapes the plate can make. Then thousands of simulated grains slide away from the moving parts of the plate and settle on the parts that are still. None of it is decoration. You're watching real modal mathematics answer a real human voice, and the mathematics is not ours. In 2015, a team in the Journal of the Acoustical Society of America measured Chladni patterns on a physical plate and rebuilt every one of them from this theory. The equations and the metal agreed. Listen to what happens when I hold one steady note. The pattern locks. It holds still, because a single frequency asks for a single shape. Now listen to what happens when I speak instead. Speech doesn't hold still. A word isn't a note. It's a moving cloud of frequencies. So the pattern builds and collapses and builds again several times a second. That flicker is a sentence. People have been staring at this for a very long time. In 1680, Robert Hooke drew a bow along the edge of a glass plate dusted with flour and watched the flour gather itself into lines. 107 years later, a German physicist and musician named Ernst Chladni did it properly. Brass plates, fine sand, a rosined bow and a book. Entdeckungen über die Theorie des Klanges. Discoveries in the theory of sound. 166 figures across 11 engraved plates. He took it on the road. In February 1809, he performed his sand figures for Napoleon at the Tuileries and played a piece of Haydn on an instrument he had built himself. And then comes my favourite part, because it's the part that keeps all of this honest. In 1831, Michael Faraday repeated all of it for the Royal Society and found that a much finer powder does the opposite. It gathers where the plate is moving most, not where it is still. Same plate, same sound. Opposite picture. The difference is the air. Fine particles get carried by the small currents. A vibrating plate stirs up around itself. I tell you that because you will meet people who show you one of these patterns and claim it proves something enormous. Faraday is the reminder that what you see depends partly on what you sprinkled. In 1967, a Swiss doctor named Hans Jenny published the first volume of a book photographing sound-moving powders, pastes and liquids, and gave the field the name it still carries, Cymatics, from the Greek chyma, meaning wave. So what are you actually looking at? A plate can't vibrate any way it likes. It has a limited set of shapes available to it, called modes. The way a room has a few notes it hums back at you when you sing in the shower. Give it a frequency, and it answers with whichever of its own shapes fit. The lines where the sand collects are the nodes, the places on the plate that aren't moving at all. Here's the sentence to keep. The sound doesn't draw the pattern. The pattern is the plate's own structure, brought to the surface by the sound. Change the input, and a different structure inside the same object comes forward. But now we leave the plate. A person is not a more complicated piece of metal. Metal receives vibration. A living being receives an event. In 2001, Luciano Bernardi and his colleagues worked with 23 healthy adults. They recited a Latin rosary prayer and a yoga mantra. Neither was empty sound. Each arrived with cadence, breath, attention, memory, and meaning already inside the act. As they recited, their breathing settled close to 6 breaths a minute. Heart rhythm and blood pressure moved with the breath, and baroreflex sensitivity, the body's response to a change in blood pressure, rose measurably. Nobody had told them to breathe at that rate. The recitation carried the breath there. The study did not pull rhythm, breath, attention, devotion, and meaning into separate rooms. The people received the whole act. In rosary and mantra, spiritual meaning is part of what is being done, not decoration added afterward. That is the point. A year later, Eddie Weitzberg and John Lundberg had 10 people hum while they measured nitric oxide in the nose. Humming raised it roughly 15-fold over a quiet breath out. A hum is mechanical and biochemical. Prayer, chant, and mantra are also spiritual acts. Their sound carries words, cadence, memory, devotion, and relationship together. A living receiver does not meet those as separate pieces. The plate receives pressure. It does not receive meaning. You do. And every living receiver meets sound in its own way. Call a dog with affection, then with alarm. The air moves in both cases. But the animal receives your tone, your timing, and its history with you. The pressure wave is only part of what arrived. A plant does not understand your sentence, but it is alive inside vibration, light, touch, gravity, water, and temperature. Sound reaches a life already responding to a whole environment. A word reaches your ear as pressure, your body as rhythm, your memory as association, and your life as meaning. You hear your own voice from inside the body that made it. Vibrate with creation calls the whole of that exchange your field. Body, attention, memory, relationship, environment, and spirit moving together. Same voice, different receiver, different event. That is what the pattern on the plate helps us see. A signal never acts alone. What receives it helps shape what happens next. Follow that outward, you, an animal, a plant, a forest, the living earth. Your field is not sealed off from those relationships. And if you understand the universe as living, your voice is not outside it. It is one event within it. Your voice enters a living world. It changes air first, then attention, relationship, the emotional space in a room, and what becomes possible between one life and another. That is how a voice shapes a field. Through the whole living exchange, not through pressure alone. And it reaches you first. Try this for 2 minutes. Not to command the universe. To notice what your own voice sets in motion. First, find an easy hum low in your range, lips closed, jaw loose. Let one breath carry the note until it ends. Do that 3 times. Notice where the vibration meets you. Do not hunt for a special number. Use the note your body can make without strain. Then choose one short sentence you are willing to live toward. I finish what I start. I am steady with my children. Say it slowly enough to use one breath. Alternate them. One breath for the hum, One breath for the sentence. Hum, sentence, hum, sentence. 3 pairs make 6 breaths, the pace measured during the recited prayer and mantra. Once a day, listen for something small. Does the sentence arrive before the old reaction? Does your tone change what happens between you and another living thing? That is a pattern becoming available. Say your name again. Listen past the sound. Notice everything alive that receives it, including you.